What is your Warhammer 40,000 hot take? Lore, tabletop or anything else?
The Emperor does not in fact protect. Quite the opposite actually.
I'm a new player and I just watched the Sisters and Primaris against Necrons cinematic video with my other friend who just started. I play Sisters, he plays Necrons, so we were like so into it. Near the end I just stared at him and said the Emperor protects. And then that's when the one sister gets completely folded like a chair and impaled by a destroyer. If you haven't seen it, it's near the end. Yeah. Nope. Can't take that back. He doesn't protect ones.
From, the Emperor protects too, that many ones. You have got to be shitting me. 2, whelp, I guess it's thirsting laughter of dark gods. I miss blast and flamer templates.
Yeah, me too. It was always such a feel-good moment when you caught a whole unit of gaunts or orcs in a flame template. I used to be able to snipe the balls off a fly with my old guess range whirlwinds or empire mortars and cannons. Luckily I never really played against any sweat lords, so there wasn't ever any arguments over what model was hit or wasn't hit. But I can't deny the benefit of the new blast weapons. Magnus is an unbearable prick and did plenty of stuff wrong.
Someone call 911, there's gonna be a fucking bloodbath.
No, yeah, you're right. Ahriman, however, is my beautiful child and can do no wrong.
Probably not that hot, but we're not, or weren't, actually meant to think the Emperor was ever a particularly excellent strategist or ruler. He and the Primarchs were meant to be like the Greek pantheon, where the stories have been boiled down to big operatic strokes by millennia in the telling, i.e. godlike and powerful enough to deserve awe and worship, but capricious and not necessarily rational actors. It was a big mistake to delve further into the heresy stuff for that reason, because writers are forced to try to rationalize and texture in and detail stuff that should feel irrational, incomprehensible and incomplete because it's so distant. The minds of demigods shouldn't be comprehensible to mere mortals. The heresy should feel like an Old Testament story or a Shakespeare play, where there's identifiable human impulses and morality sometimes, but just as often stuff is done in dauntingly huge strokes on a whim or completely alien just because so much context is lost by now.
The Emperor is a fucking idiot with zero foresight or emotional control. Pretty much everything he set out to do blew up in his face in ways that anyone should have and sometimes did see coming, usually because he's too full of hubris to even consider he's making the wrong decision. He made a deal with the Chaos Gods to make the Primarchs, and he backed out of that deal, and what do you know? The Primarchs tore apart his empire and fucking killed him. He tried to wipe out religion to advance mankind, and when the last priest on earth warned him that in doing so people would just make him a god, and what do you know? He becomes the center of the most Bacchus-ward religion ever. Even the whole Magnus thing shows how emotionally unstable he is. He's made out to be some paragon of reason, but anyone able to separate logic from emotion would have thought, okay, the Webway project is fucked, but I might as well see what evidence Magnus has to support his claim. Instead he gets all angry dad and sends the wolves after Magnus, and what do you know? Big H is last seen stomping Angel Boy's head in. Would have saved at least Sang-Yi's life if he took the time to even see what was so important that Magnus broke his rule. Instead he was so upset about the rule being broken that he let his entire empire crumble.
Yeah, you can play 40k however you want, but narrative is actually the way you're supposed to play the game. No one plays open play. Competitive play is like 40k but with all the fun taken out. Like a burger, but without the meat.
Same. I approach playing 40k like playing an RPG. The whole point is to build characters and stories.
Totally. Crusade rules have gotten friends into it that stayed away from 40k for more than a decade. In modern editions, rerolls are becoming far too common. I don't think I've played a game lately where every unit shooting at me didn't have some kind of reroll going on.
Preach. Rerolls are the worst.
GW is good, their models are good, their games are good, the developing lore is fun, and the hobby as a whole is better than it was 25 years ago.
How quickly we forget waiting years for a codex that was still in black and white during 5th edition. 5th edition also didn't have any CP or stratagems. And is, in my father's opinion, the worst edition.
The whole game is in an awesome place right now, and the people slagging it have to resort to some very heavy hyperbole, even more than usual. I can remember editions where I knew what army someone played by what they complained was too good.
I did not enjoy the Mechanicus video game. Bought it twice, returned it twice. Just felt shallow and not like anything I was hoping for. I really don't like playing against grey armies. I spent dozens of hours painting, basing, kitbushing and getting unique decals for my army. I'd like to play against something just minimally painted. There is an arms race of AP and invuls in the game and it really needs to stop.
Only hot take there is about the video game.
I've been called a gatekeeper before for saying that I will pass up on playing against grey armies if given the choice.
Those people are parroting the narrative that grey armies are fine in some circumstances. I've said this before here on Reddit, but basically, no one really wants to play against a grey army. But no one wants to be an ass either, so people will be fine with it when it actually happens but will be silently annoyed or disappointed. The only circumstances I allow grey is if someone is extremely new. Otherwise, my minimum is to have the models at least primed and for the person to show actual progress. It doesn't have to be good, but it has to show effort of some kind, and I try to encourage that.
Majority of my armies are grey because I buy a lot of models and take way too long on every single one of them. No, I will not stop painting strictly in non-metallic metal. Yes, I understand I won't finish my Necrons until 2025. Random skills, abilities, or effects are dumb. My 10,000-year-old supreme magic man of all knowledge is using his mind powers. Will he A. Run a bit faster? B. Melt a tank? C. Accidentally teleport his friends into a wall? He's only had 10,000 years practice.
He procrastinated.
Stratagems mostly suck and turn the game into this weird magic battle between the players, instead of the troops on the field. As a commander, I shouldn't be thinking about whether I can spend some currency so that a unit might fight again, or fire another Overwatch. It's so artificial it feels like video game mechanics. I like them for army building though.
I liked the concept of stratagems. They were described to begin with as representing strategies and ploys your commander put into place before the battle. That seemed like a cool idea. But GW quickly veered away from that into a land where stratagems are just another upgrade. My big problem with stratagems is that there is no opportunity cost for armies that have access to loads of stratagems. If your army has multiple supplements with additional stratagems, there's no opportunity cost to having those available, so you're much more likely to have the perfect stratagem for any given situation than an army that just has a codex, especially the 8th edition codexes.
I strongly prefer Tau as more or less uncomplicated good guys. There can still be some sinister shit going on with the ethereals for the political intrigue, but I think the rest of the Tau should be generally sane, good people to play up the tragedy that they exist in a doomed and hyperviolent universe while also being able to act as a straight man to the complete insanity everyone else is. 40k's usual grimdark is highlighted by contrast to Tau idealism.
I'd be fine with this so long as the ethereals are kept as the grimdark linchpin. Tau regular soldiers and their forces should be all noble bright one moment and then an ethereal shows up and says execute these captured enemies in the name of the greater good and they just follow it like robots. Maybe it's pure mind control, maybe it's something more subtle. It makes the majority of the Tau's near psychological dependence on the direction from the ethereals all the more grimdark as, aside from Farsight, their society feels like it would collapse without the ethereal cast. I would have given my hot take, but my opponent rolled priority and shot me off the board before I got a turn.
So what are your guys' 40k hot takes? Like and subscribe, and leave your answer in the comments down below.